Hi, I'm Sharon Hall, and I'm the author of Operation Noah's Report, Church Land and the Climate Crisis. The report identifies that around 500,000 acres of land are owned and managed by churches and Christians in the UK, and recommends three key ways that church land can help tackle the climate crisis. The first of these is growing more trees, and our video today features an exciting partnership where the Diocese of Leeds are seeking to grow more trees on their land, working with the Woodland Trust. I'd like to welcome Ben Burton and Jemima Parker from the Diocese of Leeds, and Jack Hurst and Nick Selwood from the Woodland Trust. We hope the video will inspire other dioceses and landowners to grow more trees as well. So to start with, I'd like to ask Jack Hurst, the Northern Forest Outreach Advisor from the Woodland Trust, to tell us more, summarise why growing trees is so important for the climate and nature.
Thanks, Sharon. Yeah. So we're in a situation here where we are both in a climate and nature emergency in a country that is currently one of the most nature depleted countries in the world. The UK currently has around 13% of its land mass as forest, whereas the average for Europe is over 40%. Some of the species in this country that we all know and love are on a worrying decline and are linked. This is linked to our native woods, trees and hedgerows, such as the hazel dormouse, which requires deciduous woodland, or even farmland birds like the yellowhammer that often nest in hedgerows. Tree planting, however, is a cheap and easy tool for us to use to fight against climate change, and also can be a big part of our attempt to battle the nature crisis too, and through creating woodlands, hedgerows, parkland, and any number of wooded landscapes. There are multiple benefits from this too, including flooding, the benefits to social care, social health, well-being, mental health, temperatures, keeping rivers cool. And at the Woodland Trust, we are working with a range of landowners and stakeholders across the UK to try and make some improvements.
Great. Now, can I ask Jemima Parker, the Environment Officer at the Diocese of Leeds, to tell us how growing trees fits in with the Diocese of Leeds' priorities?
Thanks, Sharon. So as a diocese, we have a 2030 net zero target. We're striving to cut our carbon emissions in line with the National Church's 2030 net zero objective. And we're really conscious of the climate justice issues and the way in which we need to show leadership in this area, both for our love and care of our global and local neighbours, as well as for our care of creation more widely. And as such, we will be able to reduce our emissions, or striving to reduce our emissions down to about 10% of our 2019 baseline. But we're conscious that there will always be some emissions that we will really struggle to cut. And that's where tree planting comes in order to help us sequester carbon to help us reach net zero. And while we're encouraging our churches to plant more trees within their churchyards, we clearly have a greater opportunity to do that constructively with our glebe land.
That's great. And then can I ask Ben Burton, who's the Property Development Manager at the Diocese of Leeds, to tell us about how the diocese got involved with the Woodland Trust?
Thanks. Yeah, so the diocese created my role about a year ago with the remit of looking at how the diocese could make better use of its physical assets. So that's both financially, but also in relation to environment and social responsibility, along with what Jemima's been talking about. So the vast majority of our physical assets that we're talking about is our glebe portfolio, which is about 700 acres of land. And a big part of the first year has been assessing that land and understanding what opportunities there are across it. What we have been able to do is do lots of things like housing and renewable energy. But what we found is that much of the land is rural and remote and not suited for those. But what it does have the potential for is biodiversity and other opportunities like that across it. But what we don't have is the skills to do biodiversity projects ourselves. So we reached out to other project partners like the Woodland Trust, and that's how we got in touch with them, and they've been really helpful from there.
So Jack, could I ask you to tell us a bit more about what the Woodland Trust has offered to the Diocese of Leeds and maybe how things got started?
Yeah, thank you. So the Woodland Trust was able to offer the advice and guidance and support to the Diocese of Leeds through the Trust's regional outreach advisors like myself. And this was done in this situation through the Grow Back Greener funding project, which is a DEFRA-funded woodland creation grant that is administered by the Woodland Trust across the Northern Forest. This has meant that the Woodland Trust, through myself and colleagues and partners, have been able to help the diocese prioritise their land for woodland creation, review its suitability for woodland creation, and then go on towards creating designs suited to the aims and vision of the diocese. So, as I said, within the first few steps of this process, we were sort of working together, me and Ben, to establish what the aims of the diocese were when we were thinking about woodland creation. And we decided to aim for both the biodiversity and nature benefits that the land could provide, as well as capturing carbon through our woodland creation. We then worked through the number of sites that were available through the glebe land, where we did background research, background checks to see if there was sites we could screen out. And then over a number of months, Ben and myself whittled down the sites until we are left with what we have now, which is over a dozen potential sites, covering over 40 hectares or just over 100 acres, each of which has been visited and looked at in person. We are now working the schemes up into a more formal woodland creation plan by creating the designs, talking to the tenants, and working through the regulatory bodies processes to make sure we can deliver the woodland creation at the best possible standard. As mentioned before, we're doing this through the Grow Back Greener grant scheme, and this means that the funding there'll be zero cost to the diocese in terms of its initial capital works, and then there'll be ongoing maintenance funding to help with ongoing maintenance, and that will be partnered with continued advice and support from the Woodland Trust. We hope that this partnership also will extend beyond this initial planting set of schemes, and if future projects come up, the diocese and ourselves can work together again on projects in the future.
Sounding great. Maybe Ben, can you tell us what it's been like from the diocese perspective working with the Woodland Trust, and what advice you'd give to other dioceses?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I mean, it's just been absolutely great, to be honest. And I think all the support they've given us has really given us the confidence to be able to go ahead with this that we probably wouldn't have had otherwise. And especially, as Jack said, the amount of work that they've done with no direct costs to us up front has been really fantastic in supporting us to get to where we are. So they've supported us in two ways that Jack's really discussed, in two key ways, which is one is that hand-holding through assessing the sites for their environmental woodland opportunities and making sure that they are eligible for that purpose and which ones will deliver the most woodland and which ones are most suitable for it. And the second part has really been pulling it together into a programme, as Jack mentioned, as well as identifying grants, support with the design, and identifying contractors, and also advice on carbon credits that we deliver from those sites. And what all that support's meant is that we can just focus on the things that as a property team we understand. So that's been financial and legal perspective of the site. So filtering out any sites that particularly high value or particularly high rents, and also those that have tenancies that aren't suitable for woodland creation or we couldn't vacate. And what all that work's done is result in a programme that Jack's already mentioned, around 40 hectares, which is actually going to be either cost neutral to the diocese if we retain the carbon credits ourselves for insetting, or could actually create an additional income stream for us if we were to sell those carbon credits on the open market. So yeah, it's been a really fantastic programme to work with, and their support's been kind of invaluable to that.
It's great to hear, and I'd like to ask Nick Selwood, the Northern Forest Programme Director, to help us understand what opportunities there could be for other dioceses who wanted to explore some similar work.
Thanks, Sharon. I mean, I think this is a brilliant example of the two organisations coming together and looking to see what we can do to deliver more trees and woodlands and deliver your ambitions around net zero. We've got woodland advisors like Jack that work across all 4 countries of the UK, so Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales and England. So they're all locally based, know their local networks, and bring really deep knowledge of trees and woodlands, and can work with your teams wherever they are in the UK to look at your ambitions for more trees and woodlands. At the same time, we can signpost you to you and other dioceses to a whole range of different grant offers that are available at the moment. This is probably one of the best times for many decades in terms of the funding available from government in particular for tree planting. In the Northern Forest, which is a big landscape scale programme which stretches from Liverpool across to Hull, we have a particular advantage in the fact that we have some major Nature for Climate Fund programme funding for the Northern Forest, and community forests within this area do as well. And we can offer really generous grants towards both the initial capital works and the maintenance. And as Jack and Ben have both said, that would cover 100% of the costs. Those grants are available in other parts of England, but not everywhere. But we also have other Woodland Trust focused grants that can support trees on farms. So agroforestry, we can support hedgerow planting, we can support the creation of smaller woods as well. And if people are interested, the easiest way to get in contact with us is to go to our email address, plant@woodlandtrust.org.uk. That team will pass it on to the relevant outreach team for that part of the country, and then someone will pick up the phone and make contact with the diocese, and then come out and look at what the opportunities might be and go from there.
That's sounding great. So a big thank you to everyone for taking part in this video today, which I hope has been inspiring and given some practical ways forward. If you're watching and you think your diocese or organisation could be another useful case study for us, please get in touch with me at Operation Noah. I'd also be glad to provide more information about our Church Land campaign. Thanks for watching.